Hey everybody, Omri here and welcome back to another video. Somebody asked me the other day, how do you build an incredible practice? You know, back in the day when really practicing at the highest level that my body could get to was a much more prominent goal in my life, I would have said that it would be a direct result of how much time you put into the practice. And that's very true. That's very true as long as you can muscle your way in. And just like anything else in life, when you muscle your way into things, there's advantages and there's disadvantages. Brute force is one way of doing things. But when did it not work is when I got injured. It stopped working. You can't brute force your way into anything. In fact, at that point, you are going to draw on as much intelligence and understanding that you have of the body in order to rebuild. And I didn't do it myself, by the way. I had some help. I went to some professional body workers who helped me ease on whatever tensions were going on in my body. And honestly, I still don't know exactly what was the deal there, but I do know that one of the greatest things that I've learned in my yoga career is Alexander technique, and it's actually not even connected to yoga, not directly. So Alexander technique is a movement technique that has to do with identifying and disabling tension. And it states that the body is comprised of a system of tensions. And when these tensions are out of balance, then your body's out of balance. And in that way, this makes a lot of sense. You know, tension is something that's visible, and tension is what bends you out of shape over time. You ever seen someone that tension has really bent them out of shape? Especially when they get older, you can see it because then there's just more years of tension on it. But tension is when you look at someone and you can see that there's muscles contracting and it's not necessarily conscious. What that means is that that person is not aware that that tension is happening. Now, there are all kinds of habitual movements that we do as people, as humans. We're social animals. We imitate each other's movements and cues. And I always give this example is if you watch a father and son walk down the street from the back, the son might be 6 foot tall, the dad might be 5'6", but they have the same body shape. They're holding their body in the same way, and you can kind of tell, yep, that's a father and son. You can see that they're related. The pattern is related. Well, it turns out that's something that we learn very early on in life. We learn how to imitate physical habits, just like we learn how to imitate psychological, verbal, intellectual, mental, emotional habits. I don't know if you're aware of it, but you learn emotional habits as well. But let's stick to the physical tension. So what happens is these physical tensions are going to affect the way your body can operate. And if one muscle is tense, everything else around it is affected because there's not a lot of redundancy. I mean, if you think about it in sense of space, only one muscle can occupy one place at one time. So inherently, that muscle is built to do something specific, move something in a certain way. And if that muscle is dysfunctioning, everything around it, which is just a system of pulleys, gets affected as well. When that gets affected, over time, the muscles get affected, the balance gets affected, and this tension pattern builds that can actually cause a lot of problems. If you think about it, in, let's say, a car, if a wheel is out of alignment and you drive it long enough, you're going to now have other issues with the car, maybe the axle, maybe the brakes. So the body works in the same way. If something is out of place, everything around is going to be affected, and the longer it takes you to fix it, the longer it's going to take to actually release everything around it. So how is that pertinent? I'm sorry, by the way, for the long, boring talk. I really hope that you're super into it, but otherwise. So how's that pertinent to what happened to me? So my physical injury prevented me from moving as deeply and as quickly as I did before. Some postures I lost complete range of motions in, and others were okay, but were really painful for weird ways. I just couldn't even tell where the pain was coming from. It was really, really bizarre how everything got affected. But on the way back, meaning once I took a few sessions with body work that released some of the tension for me, kind of showed me a little bit what was going on, I was able to then take that and run with it and slowly bring back the range of motion. Not the power yet, but the range of motion for sure is getting back. I have almost gained none of my back bending ability. I'm hoping that that will come over time, but at this point, there's no way to know if it will or it won't. But it doesn't matter, because what I'm working with is this system of tension. So I know what the baseline of my body is. I know what this tension pattern that my body holds does. I know how it affects my hip. I know it affects my neck. I know how I usually hold my body. I know where the weight is usually on my foot. So if I feel that one of those things are off, I can guide the body back to a place where at least it can go to where that weight was on, or the movement was on. Meaning, I know this is not the clearest thing in the world. I'm going to try that again. If something is off, then I'm going to try to guide the body back to what it's used to, the pattern that it's used to. And that might not be perfect pattern, but it's better than what's happening in my body when there's something going on. And then I allow whatever's tight and tense and holding, I allow that to very slowly regain that understanding that it needs to do something else than it suddenly decided to do. That's really tricky. I mean, who thinks about that they can actually affect how the body operates by thinking about the body? There's too much or too little faith. I was going to say there's too much little faith, but there's too little faith in how intelligent you are and how intelligent your body is. It's incredible what you can do with the power of the mind over the body. And I shared with my class the other day that my dad is very sick, and I think that this sickness he's going through, which is a chronic sickness that has no cure, is part of it is this inability to let go of tension in life. You know, mental tension is known to cause a lot of damage, just like physical tension. So it's important to be aware that these things exist, and it's important to be aware even more that you can change them. Now, is it easy to change? No, but that's what this class is about. It's about finding the courage within this group and within this setting to tell yourself, there's no way you can do it, and then go ahead and do it. And you know what? You do that enough times, and you start seeing that a lot of things in your life can be solved. You can move forward, you can change, you can transform, you can be whatever you want and do whatever you want to do. And that is everything. Anyway, this was long enough. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you again tomorrow morning.